Welcome back to Andy PTV. It's been a while since I've released any videos apart from re-releasing clips from old vlogs because I haven't really been travelling. I have to work because I only have 900 subscribers. So I've been at home working, living my normal life. So I've treated myself this Easter weekend to a trip in Oslo. My very first time here in the Kingdom of Norway. A notoriously expensive but beautiful place. What better way to kick off a trip here in Oslo than with some highly acclaimed and probably very pricey seafood. There's a really good seafood restaurant nearby, just over there. I'm gonna go splash out. I haven't eaten today, it's already 1 PM. I'm hungry, and I'm hungry for some seafood. Let's go. Here I am, the only customer. Somehow, this place is in the Michelin guide, so you would expect that it would be full, but I'm the only diner. Not properly dressed for the occasion, but doesn't seem to be a problem. It feels kind of relaxed, cozy, nice little place. Things off with a little bit of freshly baked bread. Really beautiful looking bread. And some herb infused butter. I do like to start with bread. Gets my appetite going and tides you over until the main event. It's the first thing I've eaten all day, so I shall try to eat it with some class and not just like I'm ravenous, which I am. Here we have 6 oysters to kick things off with some pickled shallots in vinegar, which is definitely the best thing to have oysters with. Right, let's get some of that in there. First oyster in Norway. Cheers. I don't think you can get fresher than that. And you always get this with oysters wherever you go, but this might be the best one that I've had. I'm going to get every last bit of that oyster because it really is just spectacular. Now we'll have them that I hate with just a little bit of lemon. Absolutely amazing, but I've got to say, having it with these pickled shallots is just so much better than the lemon. I'm going to hit them all with this now. I could eat a bucket load of these things. There's just something about oysters that makes me feel so good while eating them. The freshness of them is just so rejuvenating. Obviously oysters are quite pricey, but it's so worth it. I mean, the 2-course lunch is only just a little bit more expensive than 6 of these. I wish it would never end. That's the only bad thing about eating oysters when you get to that last one. It's bittersweet, so I better enjoy it. Really. Fantastic. Tuna starter has arrived and it looks just incredible. It's nicely seared, sesame seed crusted, with a nice little herby sauce at the bottom, some larger pieces of the pickled shallot that came with the oysters, and what looks like roasted pepper, like a bit of roasted pepper underneath. This is how you're supposed to eat tuna, right? Just a nice sear, still pretty raw in the centre, so the texture is just going to be next level. Now wow, that's perfectly crusted. The way that falls apart. First bite, let's go. The roasted pepper gives it a lot of additional flavour. The sesame seeds and some crunch to go with the soft, fatty tuna, and it also gives it a little bit of a toasted flavour as well. The sauce is light, doesn't overpower the flavour of the tuna. I think it's just a perfectly balanced flavour profile that's like, I don't think there's many ways you can improve on tuna. Second bite even better than the first. I'm just going to eat a little piece of the pickled shallot. I mean, look at that. That is just an exquisite piece of tuna. Very, very good. This could be some of the best tuna I've eaten. And I've eaten Michelin star sashimi grade tuna. But discounting that, this could be the best. Each bite better than the last. It just gets more delicious with each bite, no matter which way you approach it, whether you get a little bit of the pepper on your fork or whether you get a bit of shallot. I'm going to hit it with both, get a healthy amount of that sauce mopped up in the back of my fork, and then I'm just going to go for a complete mouthful that should be a flavour explosion. This is serious. 10 out of 10 for the oysters, 10 out of 10 for the tuna. I don't want this meal to end. Here we have the main cod with new potatoes, some nuts on top, cooked with butter, and this underneath, which I believe is some kind of garlic mash. And let me tell you, the smells coming from this are insane. Like, it smells so good. And also we have here the roasted onion, which practically melts at the touch. So what I'm going to do first of all, let's just do a flake test. Look at how that flakes apart. That is a perfectly cooked bit of cod. And I'm just going to try some with a little bit of this sort of vegetable mash with garlic inside. Okay. Just cooked to perfection. It's soft, almost melts. You can just taste the freshness of the fish, which I was expecting. I was expecting it to be great, but it really is fantastic.
No worries.
And that mash, that vegetable mash, is so creamy. So creamy and rich. The flavours again, just like the start, are so well balanced. Nothing's overpowering the fish that should be rightfully the star of the show, and it is. The nuts just top it off nicely, because everything else is so soft. You've got the mash, you've got the cod, you've got the onion, it's also soft. The nuts just provide a really welcome crunch, just to give it a little bit of a more exciting profile. But wow, this is a really good main. It's almost too soft, it falls apart at touch. I was tempted to go for the free course, but I don't have much of a sweet tooth, especially for lunch. I feel like too sweet a dessert could render me unable to enjoy the rest of the day, you know, a bit too heavy, so I opted to treat myself to some oysters instead, which I'm happy with. I'm happy with my choice. I'm sure the dessert would have been fantastic, but I didn't want to overdo it. The onion tastes fantastic. It's kind of caramelised, but still so soft. Usually when you have caramelised onions, they're really crunchy and almost burn, but they've done this just spectacularly. The onion's like, beside the cod, the most amazingly flavourful thing in the dish, which is impressive. You know, you could do something so good with an onion. I'm going to give the main course 9 out of 10. Maybe I was spoiled by just how fantastic the tuna tatake was. Strong, very strong 9 out of 10. So this was the restaurant I ate at. Very, very good. And including a fairly generous tip that I left, the total came to 1,000 Norwegian crowns, which is equivalent to about £72. Can't complain. I had fresh oysters, incredible salty cod, tuna tatake, which is one of the best tuna dishes that I've ever had, and a beer. An excellent service in a Michelin restaurant, in perhaps the most prime location for a seafood restaurant that there possibly could be. So, first meal done. I'm going to take a little walk. I reckon I could fit in some fresh seafood elsewhere, maybe at like a stall environment, you know. Much at the end of the harbour now. Here where I guess you can be picked up by sightseeing boats. We just saw one pass not long ago. Really is beautiful and not half as cold as it probably looks on camera. I'd imagine during winter it would be a different story. I don't think I'd survive January in Norway. But yeah, what a beautiful place this is. On the theme of seafood, did you know that Norway is the world's second largest seafood exporter? And apparently the fish from Norwegian waters make up for, on average, 37 million meals per year. Arctic cod is apparently their best, but they also have halibut, very similar to cod, that is also quite highly acclaimed from the Norwegian waters. So I'm lucky that I got to enjoy some of that cod as part of my first lunch here in Oslo. It really is a beautiful and peaceful place. Despite being the capital, it's not that densely populated, so you don't see large crowds and heavy traffic. It's really just so chill. Pretty quiet as well. I think I'm probably the loudest one here right now, walking around talking to a camera. Anyway, I'm going to walk to the other side of the harbour and see if I can find like a little seafood shack style place where I can just eat street side. Obviously I'm not going to have another meal just yet, but I would quite like to enjoy maybe some prawns or some mussels fresh along the Oslo fjord. What the hell is that? Me is a restaurant aptly named The Salmon, which specialises in, you might have guessed it, salmon. And just here in the window you can see all that aged cured salmon spinning on this machine with hooks. It looks amazing. The menu looks quite good too. But I've just missed lunch, and I feel that the dishes they serve for dinner might be a little too heavy for someone who has already just eaten a 2-course meal. The Americanisation of the globe. Even on the Oslo Fjord harbour front, with all these beautiful seafood restaurants to choose from, there is a TGI Fridays. I'm sorry, but if you take a trip to Oslo with all these restaurants and you choose to go to TGI Fridays for a burger, you need to get your priorities in check. You really do. Because here, it's probably not even that much of a cheaper option. You're still spending a fortune on beer. The burgers will be much more expensive than they are in England. And the food sucks. So I don't see why you would go for that. instead of some beautiful seafood, or even reindeer or pork, if you're not a seafood lover like myself. I seem to have explored much of the waterfront on Oslo Fjord and still have not found the kind of market that I'm looking for. As the hunt for seafood in a small takeaway shack continues, I happen to stumble upon Oslo Fortress, known for being built as a royal residence to be protected from attacks primarily by Swedish forces who, although neighbours with Norway, were once bitter enemies. It's also been used as a prison, which to me is what it much more closely resembles than a fortress fit for a king to live in. Although it's obviously undergone heavy work over the years, and this all seems to have been built maybe in like pre-Second World War era. You can still see the fortress walls that retain its medieval look. This is an American armoured personnel carrier, modified with a Swedish turret. I think this goes back to the 1980s. Yeah, it definitely looks like some kind of 1940s concentration camp in Germany or something. Very much giving me Auschwitz vibes. Building, much of which was used as a prison, as I mentioned, was actually built in like the 1860s, and I'm now approaching what looks to be the original fortress. It's a very famous World War II memorial to people who died during the war, unveiled in 1970 by the Crown Prince Harold. Apparently when foreign heads of state visit, it's traditional for them to come and lay a wreath out of respect. We're coming up to the fortress itself. This is the Oslo Fortress. Oh, we can see some. What do you think? See some wild foxes hanging around? It says not to approach them and that they're dangerous, but I think we can take a fox should the need arise. So I might still not have found what I was looking for, but I've surely found something pleasant. Here's something you won't see in other countries. You have a telephone booth. There's also like a mini library. I don't know what the deal is, whether you can just grab one and replace it with another. What a novel concept. Now, while I was in Norway, I had to try smoked whale, considering that, apart from Aboriginal whaling, Norway and Iceland are the only two countries that still continue to practice commercial whaling. So smoked whale here in Norway is a rare treat, and it was pretty tasty, to be fair. It really reminded me of beef carpaccio, but with like grainy and gamey feel to it. I did enjoy and I would recommend. Perhaps my only gripes were with the portion size, the outdated presentation style, and well, the fact that the restaurant that I went to, this gastropub called the Happy Pig, was otherwise a pretty mediocre and overpriced experience. So having just finished my meal in the Happy Pig, I have mixed reviews of the experience. So after eating the smoked whale, I didn't really show my main and my dessert because I don't think there was much to show. It was fairly typical food, really. My choices, so that's not my complaint. I went for pork neck with roast potatoes and some vegetables in like a meat jus. Then I had the dessert of the day, which was a white chocolate mousse with granola on top. So the smoked whale, really tasty. It was almost like a gamey version of beef carpaccio. The taste and the texture, so similar to beef carpaccio, you know. But then the main, a little disappointing, was kind of flavourless, if I'm honest with you. It was cooked all fine, you know. The meat was soft and juicy. Potatoes were nice and crispy on the outside, but the meat jus just had no flavour. All you could really taste was the chopped dill that was on top of it, which is not what you want. You want nice meaty flavours, none of which were present. I don't think they have salt in the kitchen. That's the least it needed, just to give it something, you know. But, oh well. The dessert? I think the dessert was really good. It redeemed itself for the dessert. So, this could be my final meal for my trip here in Oslo. So I'm going to go all out and do the right thing by going for some more seafood. What we have here is what they call something kimchi about Mary, which is a twist on a Bloody Mary with kimchi, topped with an oyster. Christ alive. That might be the best Bloody Mary I've ever had in my life. The flavours on that. Now what we got? We have salmon roe with some like sour cream, some chives, and some crisps. And how you're supposed to go about this is you just go right in and dip. So I'm going to go right in with a nice hearty first dip. The flavour of that kind of gets you by surprise, because you go in and you just get like the sour cream and chive, but then the roe gives you like a salty seafood flavour at the end of it, which only comes at the end of the bite. But then also you got the crunch from the crisp. I think that is really nice. This is like bar snack done to the next level, you know. This is like a fancy bougie bar snack. And wash down with a Bloody Mary. Seriously good stuff. Just going for another bite. Look at that.
I have something that's okay, but here. Why?
That is top tier. And this is the perfect complement for it. I don't think there's a better combo than this small dish with this Bloody Mary.
After finishing my god-tier Bloody Mary at Fiskeriad Youngstorget, I tucked into my final meal in Oslo. British-style fish and chips with local Arctic cod, served in a beautifully crisp batter alongside a tasty little remoulade as an alternative to the similar tortoise sauce, which is more commonly found paired with the dish back home in the UK. This was genuinely fantastic, a hearty and fitting tribute to one of my favourite comfort foods, bolstered tremendously by the fresh fish as well as the addition of crunchy, sweet pickles. I had a fantastic, albeit far too brief a weekend in Oslo. I underestimated just how much I'd love it here, because the people are so friendly, the restaurants and bars are so good, and as a seafood lover I felt like I died and went to heaven. I hope you enjoyed this rather food-centric and solo video, and I apologise to anyone who doesn't give a shit about the foodie content that I put out. Thanks for watching, either way, and stay tuned for Colombia very soon.